Good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 8th, and it would be a B day if we are still in school. We're going to continue with our talk about figurative language examples, and today we're going to talk about hyperbole and oxymoron. These two terms are relatively easy to understand because they're so frequently used both in writing and in speech. And when we talk about hyperbole in particular, they're used a lot by adolescents and students. So as we describe it and give some examples, you might start to recognize it and understand how often you've used it. So let's begin. Hyperbole is the gross exaggeration for emphasis and effect. Now, when I say gross exaggeration, I don't mean like it's really disgusting or icky. I mean it's like an overabundance. So this is the example of, I'm so hungry I could eat an entire cow. All right. You can't literally do that. It's physically impossible. But you want to emphasize how hungry you are. So you greatly exaggerate what you could eat to do that. I'm so sad I cried my eyes out last night. Now, again, your eyes are most likely still in your eye sockets. Therefore, you are greatly exaggerating what happened to emphasize how sad you were. The class bored me to death. Hopefully you have not said that, but you can see why we're using that. It's an exaggeration. You're talking, therefore you did not die, therefore you are exaggerating how bored you were. Again, all examples of hyperbole. It's used a lot. It's an effective way to emphasize whatever it is you're trying to get across, whatever point you're trying to make. It's used sometimes too frequently, and oddly enough, in my first example, when we started talking about literal versus figurative language, when people generally say, I literally, what comes after literally is usually an example of hyperbole. I literally haven't slept in days. Usually a gross exaggeration. I literally can eat an entire horse. Again, hyperbole. This is literally the worst hair I've ever seen. Clearly not true if you reference things. Again, obviously not true. So hyperbole, it's that gross exaggeration to create emphasis or effect. Let's move on to oxymoron. Oxymoron is the combination of two apparently or seemingly contradictory terms to create a whole new term. All right. Now, a lot of times when people learn oxymoron, they like to throw out the whole jumbo shrimp thing. And that one gets a little... The problem with jumbo shrimp is that on the surface, it might seem like an oxymoron because jumbo means large. And we think of the word shrimp to mean small. But jumbo shrimp is referring to an animal that's a shrimp. And it's a large version of it. So it doesn't truly work as an oxymoron. It's a little bit, on the cusp of it. But think about terms like friendly fire, right? Referring to in a war when troops accidentally shoot their own, right? That's a contradictory term, friendly fire. It's not really friendly. Old news. News implies something that's new, so how can it be old? An original copy. If it's original, how can it be a copy? A paid volunteer. That's a great one. You see that a lot. If you're volunteering, you shouldn't be paid. If you're being paid, you're no longer a volunteer. So those are examples of oxymoron. You see it a lot. Typically what happens is there is something that occurs. A writer or a speaker can't find something that accurately describes what has happened or what this object is. So they end up combining terms. And that new term, the oxymoron, becomes part of the vernacular. And vernacular refers to the common usage, right? When we say vernacular, we're talking about accepted into everyday usage that people talk, when people talk. So oxymorons are used frequently. We see them a lot. Some of them we've heard so often, we don't even think about them anymore. We're in a love-hate relationship, for example. Love-hate, obviously contradictory. So not too difficult, again, just like hyperbole. And that should wrap it up for this one. Tomorrow we'll go through two more. That'll bring us to Thursday. And then Friday, once again, we'll be talking about reading. But Friday's discussion will focus on poetry. Hope everyone's well. Again, if you have any questions or comments or wish that I would cover something and not just my hair, please leave a comment or reach out to me through email and I will do my best to get that. I did have a request for the drawing of a raptor. I will draw a raptor. I promise you it will be in the video tomorrow. I don't know how good it will be, but I will do my best to do that. And that's it. Until next time, I hope everyone's well. Be good.